Welcome to the Australian Hiker Podcast, Australia's longest running hiking podcast, downloaded over 1.2 million times worldwide and providing you with an Australian perspective on all things hiking. We're your hosts, Tim and Jill Savage, coming to you from Ngunnawal and Ngambri country.
In this podcast episode 330, brought to you by Whipper Packs, Australia's pack manufacturer, we go through and bring you a series of recordings from the recent 2025 Outdoor Retailer Expo held in Canberra recently. We hope you enjoy. If you'd like to help support Australian Hiker and this podcast, there are a couple of ways that you can help us out. Firstly, by subscribing on your podcast host of choice so that each episode is available as soon as it's published. And if you have the opportunity, leave us a 5-star review. Another way to support us is go to the Australian Hiker website at www.australianhiker.com.au and click on the Support Us page and buy us a coffee. You can do a one-off donation or become a monthly supporter. All donations are greatly appreciated and help us to continue producing this podcast and blog. Now let's get on to today's episode. Earlier in 2025, we were due to go to Brisbane for the Outdoor Adventure Expo, and it was cancelled due to the cyclone that hit Brisbane and Queensland at that time. There was a replacement show discussed being held, and really it wasn't confirmed until probably a couple of months later. And that show was combined with the Snow Show, which was held in Canberra each year. And over a couple of days in October, I attended the show and talked to some of the retailers that were there. One of the things that I like about attending these face-to-face shows is you get to touch and feel the gear. It's one thing looking at them online or looking at the website saying, hey, there's great new products coming up. One of the things that I like about attending these face-to-face trade shows is you get to touch and feel the new product rather than just looking at the information and the details online. And in some instances, some of the product that I saw over the 2 days that I attended this show isn't due to be released until 2026 into 2027. But it does give you a good idea of what's coming up, and it gives you an indication of which way the market is heading. Over the 2 days that I attended this expo, I talked to 6 different manufacturers and distributors about a range of product that's available. I've already got a number of gear reviews lined up either prior to the show or from the show for some of this new product that's coming online, and that will certainly happen over the coming months or as it's released. I'd suggest you go to the show notes for this podcast episode on the Australian Hiker website, and that's episode 330, and we'll have images and photos of product that we were discussing in the interview itself. So for this interview, we're here with Dave from Frontier Equipment, who stock products such as Gregory Packs, Princeton Tectonic Lighting, and Sierra Design tents and sleeping bags, amongst other things. So thanks for taking the time to chat with us, Dave.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and happy to have you on the stand here at the show. It's great to be back in Canberra.
All right, so the first thing we're going to go through and look at is Gregory Packs. This is a pack range that's probably known really well in the States, not so common in Australia, but certainly for no particular reason because they're a really nice pack. So tell us about the Gregory pack range.
Yeah, look, Gregory's been around for a long time, and as you said, very popular in the States. There are a lot of great pack brands out there, and what differentiates, I guess, Gregory to the rest of the market is our weight to carry loads in terms of being able to carry those bigger weights with the harness system that is comparable in terms of the weight of the pack itself. So realistically, it's all about the harness system. So our 2 best-selling packs, I guess, in the range in terms of our multi-day hiking packs is the Boltero for men and the Diva for women. We've got multiple sizes ranging through there from the 65 litre to the 70 and then up to the 85 litre in the Boltero and then a little bit smaller in the Diva, in the women's. these particular packs not only have adjustable back lengths, but have different sizes. So you can get your small, medium, large and extra large and so on. So you've got that difference in pack lengths. One of the things that sets Gregory apart in a lot of their range is what we have called our free float A3 system. Now, trying to explain that over the microphone would be a little bit tricky, but basically it's that movement within the actual harness system itself that allows freedom of movement. So they talk about things like literally the suspension and literally then the independent movement of the actual harness itself to the actual load in the pack.
Okay. Certainly from my perspective, I've always seen these packs around. They are a really nice looking pack. And I know cosmetics is only one aspect of pack construction, but if you're going to have a pack, you may as well have one that looks good as well. Now, the Boltero is a name I've heard quite a lot of. So you're saying that the Boltero has 3 different sizings as far as 65, 75 and 85 litre.
Correct. They're the main sizings, in the Boltero. But as you said, like aesthetics is part of that as well. What sets it apart, I mentioned already the harness, but there's the features. It's a full featured pack. And it's just little things like one of the points of differences that I find that in all of our big multi-day hiking packs is, just little things like we've got the holster here for the drink bottle that actually unfolds. And again, we're talking about this over microphone, so a little bit harder to think, but it's the way it fits that you can fit your Nalgene or whatever your water bottle of choice is inside that pack. And it's just other things like the sunglass holders. That's the foam. It's the way the foam is actually molded into the harness. But having all those typical things that you come to expect from a pack, but it's very well thought out. Gregory as a pack brand, we are 100% a mountain products in terms of baggage. That's all we do. We haven't strayed from that. That's our lane is backpacks and baggage. And so Gregory has spent all its focus on devoting its time to developing a pack range. And you work through the pack range. We've got our lightweight series here, also in the Paragon and the Stout. And then we move into our smaller ranges, being into the Zulu and the Jade as well, depending on what your type of hiking that you're doing. And so we've already mentioned the Boltero and the Diva is probably our most popular in there in terms of our heavy-duty multi-day hiking, but then we move into our lightweight packing range as well.
So with the Boltero and the Diva, they're essentially the same pack, but one's a men's pack, one's a women's pack?
Correct. Absolutely. And you'll find that in all of our pack range, we have that. So a male and a female range that goes through, particularly in our high-end multi-day or day hiking packs. Gregory, as I said, pack brand moves through. We also do a lot in lifestyle. We do quite a lot in lifestyle, everyday packwear, but also we have a very big, category in our luggage as well, in terms of big heavy-duty wheelies. We've just brought out this brand new range here. The other thing to note, and for some people, the background of Gregory now is its actually parent company is Samsonite.
Okay. All right.
So, but you've got the pedigree or that backing from one of the most well-known luggage companies globally.
I suppose the thing with Gregory, given that their focus is outdoor packs and outdoor packaging, I'm assuming that the wheelie suitcases that we're looking at here as well, they're probably more geared and more robust than the stock standard thing you drag through an airport.
Correct. I mean, while you can see the silhouette of some of those hard case wheelies is very similar to something like a Samsonite, but they're going, it's a bit more robust with that in mind, because obviously Gregory is the mountain products, as I mentioned before. But even the hard bottom, soft top alpaca series in the wheelie duffels, and then we've got a huge duffel range as well, with the alpacas and a number of other models that are in there, and very durable, comparable to other bags that are of course on the market. And I guess that's one of the things for a brand like Gregory is there are some other really great brands in the market, but Gregory is devoted 100% into that category.
Okay, no, that's good. I must admit, I didn't realise. I saw the wheelie bins and wheelie packs there, and didn't think much about them, but didn't realise they were Gregory's. So I'll definitely have to get some photos of those to put up online. Okay, from the Gregory packs, we're now moving on to Princeton Tectonics, and Princeton Tech, and they do a range of headlamps. Tell us about the Princeton Tech headlamp range.
Yeah, so Princeton Tech has been around for a long time. Again, it's a very well-established headlamp brand, but not just headlamp. We offer a number of different light source to cater for different needs, depending whether it might be an expedition, backpacking, so on and so forth, right through to our military range. Our military range is something that is versatile across all categories. It's not just devoted to specifically military. However, Princeton Tech have developed a very specific military range that has camouflage elastic bands and so headbands and so on and so forth. Different camo green or tan categories there. Part of the Princeton Tech range also then is adaptable to lights that the military use in terms of that are compatible to their helmets or to their tactical headwear that they wear, and so that is something that is part of Princeton Tech. But in terms of the rest of the range here, as we sort of just look around here, we move through to then just functional, lightweight head torches and flashlights that are used could be used for everyday camping and everyday thing. So in terms of, like a lot of different head torches, we have a rate from high lumens in terms of some of the range. You've got upwards of we've got some of the military range. You've got your 200 lumens, but then right up to your 550 lumens, and depending on what it is from a head torch perspective there, but then right through to your standard 200, 300, 450, 450, depending on what the application is. Some of the range is rechargeable. Most of it then is battery operated. Being part of the technical range, we also offer like a red light and a white light, depending on what the actual desire is. An opaque lens versus a clear lens as well, and often the other safety features that come with a lot of these lights as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's always one of those sort of things. Like looking at the packaging through here, they're made in the USA.
Correct. They're very proud of that. Like anything that's made in the USA, they like to put their stamp on it, and for sure. So out of the US. And look, again, like you were talking about Gregory there as well. There's a lot of great lighting brands in the market, and I think for us, our success here is in that it doesn't stray and get too away out of its lane. It's stuck to what it's known in terms of providing a stock standard head torch that you can use for multiple purposes and multiple applications.
Okay, no, that's good. Now we'll move on to the tent range, and we're looking at Sierra Design tents. Now, again, these are a brand that I've seen on the markets for a while, but haven't had much to do with. So tell us what's so special about Sierra Design's tents.
Yeah, look, Sierra Designs has been around for a long time and a bit of a household name for many people. I know that there is many people out there that have had a Sierra Designs tent or are a sleeping bag or even a pack, and they're very loyal to the brand. One of the things that I guess, like many brands, is obviously you've got a variation between a one-man, two-man or a three-man, depending on the range. But it is the compatibility of it in terms of being able to lightweight, but also small to pack down and very efficient. And again, we're talking visually here, but everything that we've got in front of us here, you can see from a hiking perspective or a backcountry perspective like that, it's very lightweight. One of the things, though, that actually makes Sierra Designs very unique, and these have been in the market for some time, is their backcountry bivvy bags. And we've got a regular and a long here as well. And again, this is, without lying, is probably almost sits in the palm of my hand. And from a bivvy bag perspective, in terms of its weight, And what it's designed to do, it allows the consumer to take their sleeping bag of choice and use this bivy bag over that, and then it completely waterproofs it, and it obviously weatherproofs it. And so we sell many of these because it gives it's the weight, but it's also the design and everything that comes with it as well. We've got a number of other little accessories that adds to it, but our best-selling it does vary, but our best-selling in this range would be around that Clear Wing. Would be probably one of the Clear Wing 2 would be one of the more popular brands that we have there. That comes in at a $500 retail. We also have a couple of other two-person options there in the Summer Moon, but also in the Clip flashlight there as well. And then right up to our technical lightweight versions in the Meteor. We got a 3-person version and a 2-person version in that, and then we have the high side single as well. And looking at the size of that again for what it is in your pack as a single person tent, it literally does not take up much room in your pack.
Okay. That is a pretty small one, but at least folded up, it's a pretty small one-person tent.
Yeah.
As I said, one of the things I find with one-person tents, I'm a big guy.
Yes.
I tend to like a bit more space. But I was going to say, it's a tent that's between 1 to 1.2 kilos, depending on what you're carrying with it, and virtually would take up almost no space in the pack at all.
And then the unique vestibule space that you've got here in this one-person tent as well, you're allowing your gear to still be undercover. In that entry-level side vestibule access, whether you use it with the fly or without, there is also is a point of difference for that little guy as well.
Okay, that's good. Now, the other thing that Frontier Equipment do is rough wear. Now, not being a dog owner, but I am aware of rough wear as a brand of gear for dogs, and rough wear do a range of gear, including paw booties or booties for the dogs, and I'm guessing you sell those in packs of 2s or packs of 4s.
Well, no, they sell they packs of 2. Some people do buy them just as a 2 because they for the front paws, depending on what it is. But then quite often we are also selling packs of 4s as well. But a dog's paw will depend; it will change in size and things like that as well. So. Look, Roughwear, again, another North American brand, and Roughwear is such an amazing brand, and I don't just say that because I'm standing here in front of this incredible product here. It is so versatile, and we offer so much, right from harnesses, leashes, collars, dog booties, as you say, but then we've got into the apparel for the dogs here as well, insulated jackets, fleece jackets, but then even right down to the float coats here, online and through other means, through other retailers, through our distribution. People taking their dogs out on their boat, people taking their dogs out, whatever. We've got life jackets, and then it's also the accessories as well. So it continues to amaze me the amount of product that is sold through Roughwear, and for a dog and for people, and this is a known fact, people will often spend more money on their dog sometimes than their actual children, right?
Yeah.
And so what we have here in the range from Roughwear is really exciting. It's vibrant, it's great colours, and it is being built for the outdoors. It's not just another harness that you see. And don't get me wrong, there's some great harnesses out there that are being made, and it has the dog's name emblazoned down the side. Not here to criticise those, but at the same time, these harnesses and the collars and the leads have been designed specifically for the dog in mind and for the care of the dog. 5-point harnesses, 2 different attachment points, really comfortable edges and things like that allows the dog to be comfortable and not impeded, but the dog to feel relaxed. I was at an event recently where the dogs were running, and Roughwear was one of those brands because of how dedicated it is that a lot of dog owners were using as a brand of choice for their dog, whether it be a harness or whether it be a lead. And so for hiking, for trail running, for aqua sports, you name it. Like everything that comes out of Roughwear is designed by people that are end users. Obviously, one of the challenges we have in Australia is the access that we have with our pooches, our canine friends.
Yeah.
And that is, I guess, one of our challenges. And I was just chatting to some people here at the show earlier about, they think that dogs should be more allowed down in the snow, for example. But that comes back to things like the booties and things like that. That's why a lot of people would buy those because of cold climates and things like that. But you'd be surprised how much we sell here for dogs getting around rough terrain, or cold weather or whatever it might be, or wherever they're choosing to work, working dogs, all that kind of stuff. So huge range, and we're very proud of what we have established and what we have here with Roughwear.
Okay, that's good. So that was our interview with Frontier Equipment, and they stock a range of really well-known equipment overseas, but brands that aren't often commonly seen on the trail in Australia, and I'm not quite sure why, because they really should be. So the first range of gear we talked about was Gregory packs. Now, I was surprised to find out that they belonged to the Samsonite luggage stable. So that's the overarching company that owns them. And, everybody I think knows the name Samsonite, but I hadn't actually thought that they made a range of luggage and packs for outdoor and adventure use. And really all they're going to do there, particularly in the wheelie bin type ones, or the wheelie bags that I wasn't so familiar with, they're just a bit heavier duty, a bit more robust than the lightweight things you often tend to see going through the airports. But they come from a company that is well known for being almost a lifetime piece of luggage, and these outdoor or mountain range, they call them, versions look like they'd be the same as well. From there, we talked about Princeton Tectonics, or Princeton Tech. Now, you have to forgive me. I've been using these torches for over 30 years. I used the original name from many years ago, but it is Princeton Tech. And they make a huge range of headlamps and lamps for both military and recreational use, in both battery-operated and rechargeable forms as well. So a lot of options through there, made in the USA. Then they haven't been farmed out to a third-party country to make on their behalf. So it's good to see that they still are making this product in the US. And the prices are not unreasonable. If quite often you expect stuff that's made in the States to be really expensive, but they fit within the standard pricing which most hand lamps tend to sell for. From there, we looked at Sierra Design's shelters, and the couple of things that really stood out for me is their one-person tent, which was tiny. When you saw this thing packed down, there are lighter tents on the market, but this one was really tiny when in a packing form. It's not just about weight, it's also how much space it takes up in your pack as well. And they also had an interesting looking bivvy. Now, bivvies quite often tend to be fairly heavy and bulky, or they tend to be the emergency ones, which are really lightweight, but not necessarily very durable. And this little bivvy, packed down, was really light in weight in comparison to everything else that's on the market. And for those people that like cowboy camping, not sleeping inside a tent, having a bivvy that's going to keep the condensation and the moisture out of the tent and keep you as protected as a bivvy can is not a bad option. And last but not least, we also looked at Roughwear. Now, for those people that have dogs, they may know the name Roughwear. It's probably the brand for adventure activities for dogs. They make booties. And again, if they're taking dogs into areas where the track's quite rough or there's a lot of burrs and sharp objects that they can cut their paws on, protecting their paws is just as important as hikers protecting their feet. But in addition, they also make a range of other gear, such as buoyancy vests for dogs. So if you're taking your dogs out on the water in boats or on paddle boards, which you will quite often see, as well as other gear and leads and other things that dog owners will use. Now, it might seem a bit odd that you're taking dogs on a hike, and with a lot of national parks, you can't do that. But a lot of the state parks will actually let you take dogs on trail, and you can actually go camping with your dogs. So if that's something that interests you, Roughwear is certainly the brand to keep an eye out there. In this next interview, we're going to be talking to Seperate, and now this is a brand that most people know really well, but it's a brand that has a standalone name, and they also look after a number of other well-known brands on the market as well. So we've got 3 separate interviews with this company talking about different range of product. So next we're going to talk to Michaela from Seperate, who's going to talk to us all about the Jetboil range. Michaela, thanks for taking the time to chat to us.
Thank you very much for having me. Very exciting.
Okay, so Jetboil has been a well-known stove brand that's been around for many years, and it looks like they're going through and revamping their range. So what's new for Jetboil at the moment, and what's new coming up?
Great question. Thank you. So Jetboil has been going since 2001. Really good brand in Australia. We've done quite well. For this year, we've had some really exciting news. So we've just launched a new Sip and the new Flash in Australia, which we've been waiting for 7 years because we actually have quite strict gas regulations in Australia. So that's been very exciting for us. The Flash is definitely our best seller, which you see many hikers using, outdoors enthusiasts, four-wheel drivers, etc. So I can run you through some of the updates. So the biggest update is the burner, where now with the burner, I guess you're using more like a stovetop at home. So it's just a turn-click motion to light the burner. So a lot more intuitive, easier to use. The burner also now has these rubberized grip zones. So again, just making it super easy to pick up and put down where we're using it. And also holding it when you're turning it on, because in the past, if you've seen the old fastball system Flash, you didn't really know where to put your hands, whereas now you can definitely tell where to put your hands. They've also improved the igniter. So in the past, we've just had some issues with the igniter where it could just be slightly off, and then people thought it was something wrong with it, but you actually just had to adjust the igniter slightly. So now they've actually ceramic encased the igniter. So again, it should just remove that issue we've had in the past. In terms of burn time, so it's now 120 seconds burn time, so faster than the previous model. I think the overall design is just better as well, because even how you just put it on and click it in, a lot smoother. They sort of really, I guess, refined it, like really refined everything they've done. Also, the handle, I don't have one here, but the handle has been improved, and the lid, and so a lot of smaller designs that's just overall improved it. So that's for the Flash and the Sip, which we just launched this year. And then we also do have some exciting things coming next year in 2026. So that is a full revamp in the precision cook category. And that's what I have here today showing you. So that's the Trail Cook 1.2 liter and the Trail Cook 2.0 liter. So these are replacing the Minimo and the Sumo.
Right.
So both in the precision cook category. So what that means is 4-season functionality. They perform better in colder conditions because with a regulated stove, which is what they are, they give you a consistent fuel output. So they're made for cooking with them. So you get better simmer control. And they've also had a redesign with the pots. So the Sumo, which is a really good seller in Australia, it's a bigger vessel. It's 1.8 liter. They've redesigned that pot to now be more looking like an actual cooking pot. So a bit wider. I think in the consumer's minds, they now know that it's meant to be cooking in that, versus in the past with the old Sumo, a lot of people thought you just boil water in it.
Yep.
So they've done, another great job with that. So the burner is pretty much the same as the new Flash and the Sip this year. But again, you don't actually have to buy a pot support to the new Trail Cook series, because the burner has these like little collapsible arms, if you like. So you can use other pots and pans on it too. So it's very user-friendly that way. I mean, that's probably overall the changes they've done, which is actually really great changes. I think a lot of feedback we've had from retailers and outdoor enthusiasts has been that just, using the stove now is a lot better. And we've had really positive feedback just saying, I mean, the changes they wanted made with it was pretty much done with this range.
Yeah, I must admit, apart from the functionality, they're cosmetically better looking as well.
Yeah.
And while that's only a minor thing, it's nice to have something looking good as well as being really functional as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that they look, like you say, it's a minor thing, but it's a great change.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good.
We also have this small little accessory, which I can mention quickly, which is a windscreen. So that's a new accessory Jetboil is coming out with for next year too, which works for the new Flash and the Zip, and also the Flash 1.8 liter cooking pot. And again, if you're using the stove in windy conditions, that should make it just a lot better, easier to use. So.
And that folds down fairly flat, does it, once it's off the pot?
Yeah, so it just collapses around itself and then stores into this little storage bag that it comes with.
Okay. That's good. It's always been one of those sort of things that if you are cooking in windy open areas, you've either got to rely on your body being the protection, which doesn't always work, but having a dedicated windscreen or windshield to keep the wind off the flames is quite handy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a great addition to the range. And I think overall now when you look at the complete range, obviously once we launch next year with the new precision cook category, I think it's just so refined, and Jetboil has just done a good job overall. And in Australia, I think they are sort of the market leader in what we do still. So it's very exciting times for Jetboil in Australia.
Okay, no, that's good. Okay, so we've been talking to Michaela from Cedar Summit about the new and upcoming Jetboil range. Thanks for taking the time to chat to us.
Thank you very much.
So Jetboil is a range of stoves that most hikers will be aware of, even if you don't use them. And it's good to see that they've gone through, and I suppose there's two main things they've done. They've improved the cosmetics of them, and that seems to be a bit of a theme with what's going on with the industry at the moment, is making things look better. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, it's nice to have, and they do look better, but the functionality is the other thing they've gone through and worked on as well. The original stoves have been around for many years. They make some upgrades, and they've certainly made upgrades that make the stoves much easier to use. One of the things that Michaela talked about was the Australian gas standards, and this is often an issue that we have. You'll see product released on the American market, and you can never quite work out why we don't get it in Australia, and it's because of our gas standards. And one thing that I learned from this show that I wasn't aware of is apparently with these stoves is if the stove boils over and the flame goes out and the gas keeps on running, that's not a particularly safe thing to have. So apparently the design of the stoves have to be done in such a way that if they do boil over, they aren't going to put the flame out. So, again, interesting thing I just hadn't been aware of. But yeah, we really do have the safest gas industry standards in the world. In addition, they talked about the new Trail Cook range, and they are the larger models. And, certainly if you're hiking in larger groups where you are really cooking as opposed to just boiling water, these larger models aren't a bad way to go. So they'll be a bit down the track, and as I said, the Zip and the Flash are still, you may not come across them commonly at the moment as they're still selling out the older models, but again, both ranges will be out sooner rather than later, so keep an eye out for them if you're after a new stove range. In our next interview with Cedar Summit, we're going to talk about specifically Cedar Summit branded product. Okay, so next we're going to talk to Jack from Cedar Summit about Cedar Summit named products. And the first thing we're going to look at is the new Sentinel tent. So thanks for taking the time to chat to us and tell us a bit about what's so special about this tent.
Yeah, mate, no worries. So look, the Sentinel tent, we've got that coming for the second half of 2026. It's got a 20,000 mil water rated floor and then 2,000 fly. We've also gone for a single hubbed frame, which is a little bit different to the Telos and Alto that we currently range with the 2 hubs. And then also we've gone for a double guy-lined structure on the outside. So yeah, everything kind of with the intention for having a 3+ season tent, and yeah, better for wind and that sort of thing.
Now, this is not as lightweight as the Talus tent, but it also looks like it's got a bit more space as well.
Yeah, mate, of course. It's a touch over 2 kilos, and the difference with the Talus is it's a rectangular base. So a rectangular symmetrical base means you can fit two rectangular wide mats in there pretty comfortably, as you can see there.
Yeah, and it looks like it is a true rectangle rather than being tapered.
Yeah, mate, of course. Yep.
Okay, no, that's good. And it's a nice looking tent too. It's not a tiny tent. I think as a 2-person tent goes, it's going to take up a bit of space. But if you've got 2 larger hikers, or you want a bit of extra space in your tent, it's looking like it's going to be a good option.
Yeah, of course. And with that in mind, we've also opted for a lighter, a little bit more of a lighter transparent colour. So if you are hunkered down out of the storm or get stuck in poor weather, you do have a bit of that livable, usable space inside and a bit more natural light.
Okay, now this is the Sentinel XP2. Is there an XP1 and 3 and 4?
Yeah, I think at this stage there's a Sentinel 1, 2 and 3. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, that'll be good to see. And you were saying they're due out roughly about a year's time?
Yeah, mate, yep. So second half of 26.
Okay, no, that's good. Now from there we'll go through and have a look at the new range of duffel bags. So we'll just head over there. All right, so duffel bags, definitely very bright in colour. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, so we've updated our duffel range and made a few new additions to something, a staple in our range that hasn't really been given the love over the last couple of years, and been left fairly unchanged. So we've split into 2 ranges, the Meridian duffel and the Talus duffel. So the Meridian's more your traveller, you're a bit more versatile, whereas the Talus duffel is that heavyweight expedition travel pack. And then something brand new that we don't see a lot of on the market is the Meridian tote. So it's actually a dry tote pack. I'll get it over to have a look if you like. So yeah, this one here, it's a 600 denier fabric, and that's similar across all the Meridian duffels. And then yeah, just acts like a normal traditional Cedar Summit dry bag as well. Give you the option of a dry tote. My apologies.
Okay. No, that's interesting. And I said the duffel bags themselves are there's a good range of colours. Now, just looking at the Talus duffel, is there just one size? Is it?
Yeah. So the Talus comes in 2 sizes. It's a 120 and an 80 litre, and then the Meridian is the 40, 60, and 90.
Okay. No, that's good. I must admit, it's a good duffel bag, particularly when you're travelling either interstate or overseas, is a good way to go, rather than trying to fiddle your hiking gear into a hard suitcase, which often doesn't work that well.
Yeah, of course. And look, one of the biggest updates we've done, especially with the fabric in these ones, is the film on your windscreens. When windscreen shatters, they don't shatter. It just kind of makes a little bit of a chip. We've repurposed those films and turned it into what makes up the fabric on there. So a bit of a recycled, reused factor about these as well.
Okay, no, that's good. Okay, so from here we've got some new additions to the Cedar Summit sleeping bag range for 2026.
Yeah, so as you might be aware, Cedar Summit updated our sleep range at the start of 2024. But now we've added a new edition called the Circuit, which will be coming the first half of 2026. And that one's a 650 loft down bag coming in the -1 and the -9 degree, in line with the rest of the range. And so this is perfect for entry level or people wanting to pick up their first down bag. And yeah, it's something we're really excited to bring out. It's got that single length zipper around the full side, two single length 2-way zipper. And yeah, it's something we're really excited to launch.
So this is going to be in the cheaper end of the range, is it?
Yeah. So the regular size for the -1 will come in at, I think, $449,
yep.
And then the -9 will come in at $549. So
okay. So as you say, entry level bag that people don't want necessarily spend $900 on a sleeping bag.
Of course, yeah, of course, you're 100% right.
Okay, no worries. So we've been talking to Jack from Cedar Summit about some of the new Cedar Summit branded product that's coming onto the market soon. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Ian.
So in talking to Jack there, again, there were two things that stood out, and this pattern discontinues. Firstly, the product that he showed me, the focus has certainly been on making the product look good, even if it's been re-released. So the Sentinel tent, the two-person tent they had there, which won't be released until the end of 2026, it's a tent. How good can tents look? But they've put some thought into making this look as good as they possibly can. Now, this tent was a two-person tent. It's not one of their ultralight range, being just over 2 kilos for a two-person tent. But there's two ways you can really make two-people tents. One is to go through and make them as small as you possibly can, and they're only two people if you've got a really close relationship. And in fact, one of my two-person tents is really a 1.5-person tent. Or you can go through and not make them as light as you possibly can, but give them plenty of space. So this is a rectangular tent, which means rather than having to have both people sleep the same way with the heads up one end and feet down the other, it means if you so want to, you can actually have top and tail. Or if you just want it as a one-person, two-person tent, you got lots of space in this thing, and they will be coming out in a 1, 2, and 3-person version. And judging by the look of the two-person tent, I think the one-person tent would actually be a decent one-person tent. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like at the end of 2026. The other thing was their range of duffel bags. Now, with the duffel bags, this is a product you either use or you don't. I've got duffel bags. I've got a couple. And for me, my preferred size is 120 litres. But it means if I'm going on a trip, a long-distance trip, I don't want to have lots of luggage floating around. So I use the duffel. I put my pack and everything in there, with the exception of water and gas, which I pick up when I get there. And I assemble my pack, start my walk, and before I do that, I typically will put my duffel bag, I'll fold it up, stick it into a post bag, and send it to my endpoint on the trip. Or I'll send it home, depending on what it is I'm actually doing. And that's where the duffel bags are quite handy. They just even the heavy duty ones will fold down and fit into a post pack quite well. So the Meridian range and the Talus range, a lighter weight and a heavy weight version, and for me the Talus range is probably where I'd go for, but they are good functional heavy duty bags that will suit people quite well if they're travelling on a plane and don't want a heavy hard suitcase. The other key thing that was there we talked about was the circuit sleeping bag. Now, if you look hard enough and go to one of the big box stores, you can buy sleeping bags for $40 or $50. Now, that's lovely if all you're going to be doing is camping in warm weather and you're just throwing it over the top of you and that's it. But getting a good quality down sleeping bag that is temperature rated, the circuit sleeping bags are their new entry-level bag, and they expect them to be selling around about the $450 to $550 mark. And again, if you don't want to spend roughly $1,000 on the top of the line sleeping bag because you're not sure if this is something you're going to be doing all the time, or you're car camping and space is not critical, this is where these bags will have a good home, and looked like they had good features on them as well. Okay, in our next interview with Cedar Summit, we're going to be talking to the rep for Black Diamond. And Black Diamond make a number of different products, but in this interview, we're going to be talking about their clothing range. So next we're going to talk to Brian from Cedar Summit, who is going to talk to us about Black Diamond clothing, for want of a better term. Okay, so thanks for taking the time to chat to us. Tell us a bit about the Black Diamond clothing range.
Yeah, so Black Diamond do a fairly extensive apparel range. They've been doing it for a number of years. We haven't really pushed it really hard into the retail stores in Australia as such, so a lot of people probably aren't aware of how extensive the range is. But they do stuff from everyday wear, climbing pants, shirts, t-shirts, obviously, more casual wear, to a full technical range of insulation, shell wear, lightweight, midweight, heavyweight, kind of the whole gamut that sort of covers all your sports, hiking, mountain running, mountaineering, skiing, all that kind of stuff, which is really, I guess, the core of what Black Diamond's about and, you know, where they're from in Utah. So, yeah.
I must admit, just looking at these rack of clothing in front of me at the moment, they're nice looking pieces of gear. Regardless of how they perform, they look good.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work over the years. They do look nice. The fits are very nice, functional, athletic fits, obviously. Pretty much, you know, designed for outdoor pursuits. So that sort of athletic fit in mind with, good length arms, stretch panels or stretch materials in a lot of the fabrics and that kind of thing. So, a couple of the pieces that I've got here that I might just quickly talk about. Like, this is just a lightweight active shirt, really. So it's more of a sun shirt than anything else with the up and glow. It's been a staple in the range for a while. Pretty popular with some of our outdoor stores. People that are hiking, people that just want a bit of sun protection, but something that's going to be lightweight, breathable, keep the sun off you, and comfortable to wear in, you know, a range of different conditions.
Okay, I must admit, sun hoodies tend to be something that's big in the States, but not so big here in Australia. I have used them, and I do like the concept of a sun hoodie, particularly not having much hair. It's sort of trying to keep the sun off my head is I'll do anything for that, and it's handy that when you don't necessarily want to wear a hat, you can put up a lightweight hood, and the breathable panels on this look quite good as well. So it doesn't look like you're going to overheat at any stage in this top.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a functional item, particularly in Australia where we've got such intense UV and sunshine. Like, it's actually a very practical piece of clothing for the Australian sort of climate. So,
okay, and our next one.
This guy here is the Solution hoodie. Basically, it comes in a non-hoodie version as well, but basically a kind of a light to mid-weight synthetic insulated jacket as a mid-weight layer, I guess, for want of a better description, but fairly diverse for just a range of different pursuits. Anything in the outdoors can be used as your outer layer, or it can be used as a layer, with a more waterproof sort of a shell over the top as well.
And again, as the comment is, it's a nice looking sort of jacket, nice looking sort of garment. So now, with these garments we're talking about, are they available now, or they're going to become more readily available?
Some of these are available now. A lot of them are available on the Black Diamond Australia website. At this show in particular, we're talking to a few more retailers. So some of the ski pieces are available currently, and bits and pieces of the range are available through a select handful of retailers. But there's been a fair bit of interest in this show with other retailers, so it's probably in the next year or two it'll be more readily available.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And you mentioned you have the third one?
Just the ski shell that sells pretty well in Australia. So it's a stretch shell, but it's basically a shell jacket for skiing. It's Black Diamond's proprietary waterproofing, which is BD dry, similar to your Gore-Tex type membranes. Waterproof, seam sealed, but a versatile ski jacket for either backcountry touring or just general resort skiing, anything you like. So that's one that's been pretty popular with ski stores.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so we've been talking to Brian from Cedar Summit, who looks after the Black Diamond range. Thanks very much for taking the time.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So again, the first comment about the Black Diamond apparel range is going to be, it looks really good. Now, Black Diamond make sporting gear or gear for rock climbing, for hiking, and for skiing. So it does tend to be fairly form-fitting, and it does tend to look fairly good coming out of the ski industry and also coming out of the rock climbing industry as well. There's some good product through here that, again, I would love to get my hands on. And they were saying at the show they're talking to a few more retailers. So we should expect to see this product more readily available on the market over the coming year. And I think it will do really well. Again, function-wise, it looks like it works really well, but I haven't used it to say that. But I'd wear it just as street clothing. It looks so good. In our next interview, we're talking to Aaron from Action Sports Anchor. So, Aaron, tell us what your company does and what's so special about it.
Hey, Tim, thanks for having us on. Action Sports Anchor is the original bungee cord tether system for phones, cameras, keys, GPS units, basically anything that you're using out on your adventures that you don't want to lose.
And where did you start? You think this would be a product that's been around forever, but how did you come with that, and where did you start?
It's funny you should say that, because had this been a thing, our business would never have existed, right? So our primary business at the time, this back in 2017, was an advertising agency. So my daughter was a mogul skier with Perisher Winter Sports Club. So, we're up there every weekend, all school holidays, training and stuff. And I think it was like a Wednesday. I was just up on the ridge chair at Perisher and was sitting on the lift, sending emails to clients who think you're in the office hard at work on their behalf. So I'm sitting on the chairlift, sending emails and, death gripping my phone like you always do. And the ski jacket I was wearing, the front zipper pocket where I was keeping my phone, I looked down and my lens cloth was dangling from my jacket, attached by just a little elastic strap to the jacket. And I thought to myself, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, my lens cloth is worth 50 cents, but my phone's like $1,000. So I thought, surely somebody makes something that connects the two things. So that night I went back to our apartment, hopped online, and all I could find at that time was just like your kind of office style lanyards and things like that, but certainly nothing that was sport specific. I race motorcycles and motocross and super bikes, and we ski and all that. So I'm a bit of an engineering geek, and I thought, well, I'll just make something, right? Never ever in a million years thinking we would commercialize the idea. So I set out to the workshop, found some materials, and cobbled together some pretty crude tethering systems that from a functional perspective are probably 90% similar to what we have now, but just the aesthetics and the finish of them was pretty raw at the time. But a funny thing happened. So I made just enough for me and my kids and my wife to use, and like every time I'd be on a chairlift and I'd just take my phone out, I'd get somebody going, "Oh, dude, where did you get that?" And at first I was thinking, oh, do I think this is a good idea just because I'm the dad who always has to replace everybody's phones when they get lost, or are we on to something? So, it kind of went through a season of people inquiring about it, and then I kind of started leaning in on it. So every time I'd be on a lift with lots of people, I'd like make it obvious that I'm taking my phone out, or I'd drop my phone and pick it back up just to kind of see the reaction. And so I started getting quite a positive response to this thing that we had made. From a marketing perspective, like, again, that's what we do, is kind of brand building and product development. So the original version was just made with some black elastic cord that we bought. So we started kind of leaning in, testing like different colors and things like that, started to evolve the design. And certainly as soon as we introduced the brighter colors, it became much more visible, and we started getting much more traction with people asking about it. And, at this stage, we were just kind of developing, not anywhere near being kind of finished product yet. So, fast forward to, I think it might have been April 2018. We were pretty close to like where we were at from a production-ready product perspective, but we hadn't done anything with the brand yet or packaging or that kind of stuff. I was up in Japan doing a training program with Bridget. And I met a young Australian park skier up there. He was up there with his little sister, and she was training. She was like at the time, was one of the top junior national mogul skiers. And this guy was like, "Oh, that's cool. Where did you get that?" And I said, "Man, would you use this?" I said, because he's like a young park skier, and the snowboarders and the freestyle skiers and stuff, like, they are probably the most conscious in terms of like aesthetic. So they're not going to use anything that they look at and they go, "Oh, that looks ridiculous," or "It's not cool," or whatever. And so this guy's like, yeah, I'd use that for sure. So you see, because we lost that many phones up on the mountain and everything. So I said, "Look, when we get back to Australia, I'll make you some stuff and we'll get them off to you." And so we did that, sent them off to him. And then later that, like at the start of the Australian season that year, we were up at Perisher at a slope style event, and I bumped into him and his girlfriend, and she had bright orange or bright yellow one hanging out of her pocket, one of the ones that we made. So she's introduced herself, and she was marketing and promotions director at Rhythm Snow Sports. And she asked the question. She goes, "Hey, these things are great. Like, we've been using it so far this season. Do you sell them?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course we do." And she's like, "You've got packaging and barcodes and all that?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Like, we didn't have any of that stuff at that time, but we had an agency. So like this type of stuff that we knew we could turn around very quickly. Very long story short, it literally from that conversation, a few weeks later, Rhythm had their first order in store. And it kind of took off from there. So that's, and it's seemed such a simple thing that if somebody else had invented, or if there was one thing that was even relevant on the internet, like when I went looking, I would never have gone down this path. But, fortunately for us, it hasn't been. And, it's been a pretty wild ride because, we originally designed it for snow sport. That was our first application. And pretty quickly, the audience started finding different uses for it. We were getting, our online orders were very kind of Sydney, northern beaches, North Shore, eastern suburbs, and then into the Southern Islands, Canberra. You could see it was a ski client, and Victoria kind of was replicating those same things. And then, we started getting up and down the coast a little bit more. So we started reaching out to those customers, and a lot of them were using it on their boats or their jet skis or mountain biking and things like that. And where we knew we were like, okay, this has got a product with probably a broader appeal than what we had imagined for it, was we got an order from a guy who I think was an hour outside of Burke or something like that. So definitely outside of our typical customer demographic, right? So we reached out to him, and I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be using it on his farm or on his dirt bikes or, whatever. And called him, thanked him for his order, asked him what sport he was going to use it for. And I wish I could do the accent, but I can't very well, but I'll try. He's like, mate, not using it for any sport, just getting sick of losing my phone when I get pissed at the pub. So we thought, great, if we got athletes and, alcoholics alike using the product and finding it useful, then maybe we're onto something. But yeah, that was, 2017. And we kind of had to park it during COVID. We were doing some international expansion and, luckily dodged the bullet on, I know a lot of brands that got hung out with big orders that got canceled and things like that. So the product sat there and we sold on our website, but we didn't really do anything with promotion and all that kind of stuff. And then we did a rebrand that started last year. And it's really kind of taken off from strength to strength, and the kind of international growth has gone crazy. And it's developed it out into, motorsport applications, a lot of water sport, hiking, outdoor, climbing. That's become a really big part of our business. And we've been quite proud about picking up a number of the kind of key outdoor retail, chains. We've got Wild Earth as a partner. We just picked up Aspire, chatting with a few others. So that's been a really exciting development for us.
Okay, so it looks like you're doing 3 models. So you've got a wrist, a 20 centimetre and a 60 centimetres. Is that right?
Yeah, so we have the most popular product in our range is what we call our OG 60, which is the kind of original 60 centimetre version. That's probably represents 50 to 60% of sales is that one model, and we do them in a variety of colors. We've got 7 colors on the website: fluorescent orange, fluorescent yellow, red, black, like an electric blue, a hot pink, a purple, and we've just introduced a really cool forest green that's not on the website yet, but that will be coming. But the thing is now that we've kind of grown into our international reach, we've got warehouses in Australia, North America, France, and the UK. The old way of it's a lot more logistically complex for us to add new products to the website because we have to have stock in all of the locations before we can put something live on the website. But yeah, it's been been quite an amazing journey for us, and we've started doing a custom branding campaign now that's become really, really popular, where the 3D printed lanyard part that attaches the bungee cord to your phone case. That's a piece that we've made really simple but super strong universal design. It'll work on just about any phone case. So we make those in-house in Bowral in New South Wales. And so we started taking those and turning them into, taking our client logos and turning those into a 3D printed lanyard that carries their branding on one side and ours on the other. And that's been massive for our clients. And, that's led us to, we're doing partnerships with hotel chains over in France, ski schools in France. France, for some reason, is popped off as a big market for us quite quickly, and that came off the back of the Snow Travel Expo in Melbourne. We met with a bunch of the French resorts and did some prototypey type of stuff for them, and they were quite amazed. But we did some stuff for one of the resorts, but then a hotel that's at the resort was we'd like 1,000 pieces for our hotel to give away as gifts. So we met with a ski school, and the ski school, an interesting thing about European ski schools, I didn't know this, but the individual resorts don't have a ski school. It's a company has a ski school at all the resorts. So, we're working with Oxygen Ski and Snowboard School in France. They've got 450 instructors, on mountains at 11 resorts. And, it's a pretty significant piece of business, but we're doing really kind of cool custom branded stuff for them that they use for all of their instructors. Will be kitted out with them. And then that exposes the product to their customers, and that's how the retail side grows.
Okay, so where to next for the product? Are you expanding, or are you just getting into more markets? What's the direction you're heading?
Really, the main thing that we've decided to lean in on is, the snow sport and outdoor are our two key businesses. And although we've had a lot of success with growth, there's an enormous scope to continue to grow those things, right? So the primary target is to build out Australia completely, like with the resorts, and hopefully at the end of the show here, we'll be pretty close to having nearly every one of the ski resorts in Australia as a stockist or a branded partner. We're definitely growing our presence in outdoor. Then we're going to start. We are actually already in the process of starting to aggressively grow that. Originally, we thought that like U.S. and Canada would be the next logical step, but strangely, Europe has just grabbed onto this in a much kind of more aggressive way. Where we are working with a number of kind of resorts over in North America, like we picked up Big White Ski Resort as a client this year, which is super exciting because they're just an iconic resort group. So we're really proud to be involved with them. And so but Europe has become one that is pretty wild. Like we are in the final stages of closing a deal on, I can't say who it is, but it's a large tourism group in France that looks after a particular region, which is the ski region. And so we've done designs for them, and we're waiting for that to get confirmed. But it's been a real kind of cool thing. I mean, excuse the language, but like our brand, we just really build it on, we just want to work with, kick-ass people doing cool shit, and get any sport that finds itself. And it's, whether it's snow sport or outdoor, we've picked up, again, jet ski communities have rallied because the amount of jet ski or cameras like GoPros and stuff that are sitting in the bottom of lakes and rivers and oceans and stuff would be enormous. But, our tethering system, no matter what happens to the camera gets broken off by a wave, it's still attached to the jet skis. And I can't tell you the amount of guys that we get and girls who have bought tethers for their jet skis who send us back a message saying the very first time they put the camera or the tether onto the camera, it saved their camera.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's just because it's screwed down doesn't mean it's going to get ripped off by some sort of wave action or something.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, like the thing escalates quite quickly. So we've got a jet ski client of the company called 81 Racing. They're based out of Queensland, like world championship caliber level riders. We had our G-Force camera mounts and our Action Sports Anchor tethers on a number of their skis at the World Championships this year, and that was pretty exciting to see because brands like that or companies like that, especially like in the racing communities, like they just don't mess around with junk. Like they're not going to put it on their machines. Like they spend. I wouldn't even want to know what one of 81 Racing's like open class, Sea-Doos would be worth. It would be an enormous amount of money. And the fact that they trust our products, we carry that burden quite heavily. Like we understand what that means. And although, we haven't cured a disease or anything like that, so I don't want to make it out that what we've done is any more amazing than what it is, but we have basically solved a really common problem for anybody who's into adventure sports, which is just lost cameras or phones, and that's our high goal.
No, that's good. That's good.
And one of the things that we are starting to build out is really working on brand identity. Maybe not the best direction for radio here, but I think you might have grabbed a few photos, but kind of developing that brand aesthetic. I mean, one of the things that I've always kind of thought was interesting is being in action sports is that a couple of the leaders in action sports are some of the energy drink companies, and we won't name anybody by name, but I always found it interesting that at an elite level, you have these athletes that are sponsored by some of these companies that don't actually use the products. I think that is quite funny, and I know that for sure because I have a couple of friends that are world championship level motorcycle racers who will have been endorsed by some of those companies. They were saying when we're on the podiums, we'll have those cans filled with water or whatever because they're not out doing 500K weeks on their bicycle to be in ultimate fitness and then drinking sugary soft drinks, basically, or whatever's I don't know what's in the ingredients, but we want to have like our brand be elevated to that level. I know it's a high goal and this is years down the track, right? But from my mind, I see action sports anchor helmets in downhill mountain biking and skiing and all the other kind of action sports, the motocross and road racing. I want our design helmet to be just as valuable from an athlete perspective as an energy drink helmet, because it's a product that they can actually use.
Yep.
So that's kind of our high goal, going down the track. But we are building out. I mean, sports is always going to be our halo brand part of it. But there is also massive application for industrial purposes and things like that. So you think about postal services. I mean, you think of how many posties are out on the roads, and they've all got scanners and phones. And so there's like an industrial application for these things that we are exploring all of these things. We've developed, like all of our kind of products now use like a 3 millimeter bungee cord, Australian-made bungee cord. We've done a version that we're calling like the Monster Anchor, which is 5 millimeter, but it's strong enough that you can carry chainsaws and drills and all kinds of stuff. So that would have like an industrial application. You can imagine tradies, like I've got a lot of my mates are tradies, and you won't find anybody with more beat up phones like as a class of people than tradies, because they're always just on the job sites. They're dropping the thing all the time, so we've got a number of tradies who have been using our products for a while, and that kind of leans in with the bright orange and the bright yellow colors, kind of fits the aesthetic of them. But what we find is that you can't pigeonhole any of the customers into any one category, because I've got all my mates are tradies, but they all snowboard, right? Or they all ride mountain bikes. So like they're using it while they're at work, but it's just finding, all these different homes. And, a crazy one, again, like my son's not like the action sports person in our family. My daughter was that person, but my son loves to travel. So when he was going around Europe, I mean, phone theft over there is insane at the moment.
Yeah.
So we've had travelers, and, that was, again, being really aware of who our customers are. We got like a funny little cluster of orders from Victoria at the end of last year, and started with one, and then all of a sudden we got like 10 orders within like a neighborhood. And we thought, that's odd. Like, it's just not normal, like how that would work. So again, we reached out to the first lady who had ordered, and could tell straight away she wasn't young, like in her voice, and I said, oh, maybe Margaret or something like that. I just want to know, hey, found out about us. And she goes, oh, my daughter, they ski, and they've been buying your products for skiing. She goes, I'm going on a trip with a bunch of my friends. We're going over Europe, and we're all really worried about our phones getting stolen. So my daughter suggested that we use these. And so I bought one, and then I showed my friends, and then like all the friend group who was going on this trip all jumped online, and we could see it like in the analytics of the website orders. It was really quite funny. But, so that's the thing for us is that, we've got our sports brand as the premium one, and we're going to be developing trade ranges and things like that. But, we've got a long ways to go before we reach, market saturation in just the action sports area. So I think that's, for us, is always going to be, where we want to live. And then the other things, if we can do it, that'd be great. But we need to excel at doing this one thing and doing it really well.
Okay, that's good. So we've been talking to Aaron from Action Sports Anchor. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. It's been great to have a chat.
So that was our interview with Aaron from Action Sports Anchors. And as he said, he assumed, like probably most people would, that this was a product that had been existing for years and he should be able to find it. And it was when he couldn't find it anywhere, he basically created the company. So I must admit, I wasn't quite sure the relevance of this sort of product for what we're looking at, but my camera, which lives in my pants pocket, has a wrist strap on it. And certainly if, unless I'm standing in a nice, easy sort of areas, I will use the wrist strap because, if you're in a bit of a precarious area and you drop it to save yourself from falling over, there goes the camera, which is not cheap. Phones are the same. It's so easy to drop a phone, or if you are on a ski lift chair and you drop it, you're never going to find it again, not in the middle of the snow. So this is a good product that's not overly expensive, that potentially saves quite a bit of money. So from my perspective, I will add one of these to my camera. Again, the orange cable on the ones that I've got will make quite a bit of a difference. And I think the phone option as well, I hadn't actually thought about that, but it's so easy if you're not paying attention to drop your phone, and there goes an expensive piece of gear if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we will be testing these and reviewing these over the next few weeks, but I can't see these being anything else but a really good product that will do well in any outdoor activity. Whipper is an Australian designer and manufacturer of ultralight packs based in the Blue Mountains town of Katoomba, and manufactures the best purpose-built performance packs for use in hiking, mountaineering, climbing and canyoning. Leveraging Australian design and manufacturing experience built up since 1981, Whipper uses the most advanced materials available with a minimalist approach that ensures every element serves a purpose. In doing so, they strip away the unnecessary to focus on what truly matters, which is functionality, durability, comfort and performance, to create packs that, in Whipper's words, are lighter, stronger and better. So if you want to experience your ultimate hiking adventure, then get yourself a Whipper Ultralight Performance Pack designed and built in Katoomba, Australia. So in this next interview, we're talking to John Pope from Wilderness Wear. John, thanks for taking the time to catch up with us.
No worries, Tim. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, so we've talked to John in the past over the last few years, but just for one reason or the other, we haven't had a chance to catch up. So it's been a few years. What's new for Wilderness Wear? And I suppose for those people that don't know Wilderness Wear, tell us a bit about what the company is and does.
Well, Wilderness Wear, we're a little bit of a dinosaur in the industry in that we still make locally. So everything is made in Australia, and majority of it Tasmanian wool. So we look at that as our value-added proposition that a lot of other brands can't have. So it gives us a point of difference to the independent retailers that are still left in Australia.
Okay. And certainly, you make a lot of socks, but you also mainly make wool-based clothing is probably the best way to describe it?
Yes. So in our base layer activewear ranges, we have quite a range of 100% wool garments, but it's hard to compete in that range globally because everyone has the best wool and the most ethical sourced wool, so it's hard to get any traction. So apart from the Australian made, that can be sort of pushed to the side, so it's hard to have a point of difference. So where we have seen growth is in our blended or using the best man-made fibre polypropylene with the best natural fibre merino, and we call it merino fusion. So it's taking the best attributes of both, and then in different knit constructions and different weights, it just adds another level to activewear and base layers.
Okay. Now, what's been new out for Wilderness Wear in the last couple of years in relation to clothing lines?
Well, clothing lines, we've consolidated with the merino fusion and our merino weights. So it's more in the socks where we sort of went off on a bit of a tangent. Again, still very competitive market, but we looked at using some more exotic yarns like hemp, yak and alpaca, and blending that with merino to add just a premium level of socks.
I must admit, I had the opportunity to try a pair of the yak socks, and they surprised me. They were, you just think, okay, it's just another natural fibre, but they were really nice.
Look, they have a lovely handle, and they just, the yak yarn, very expensive yarn, but it's quite robust. It's very fine, and it has higher thermal properties than sheep wool. So if you feel the cold and you're going to a cold environment, that is our warmest sock that we have, more so than our very high wool content socks.
Yeah, I must admit, I just found I was using them during winter time, and they just felt so comfortable, but they didn't feel like they were overheating. So, and for me, that's probably a big thing that I find thick socks. I get very hot feet, but not with these ones.
Well, that's interesting. Look, it's everyone is different, and circulation. Everyone has different circulation. So with our sock range, it really is. Where are you going? What are you doing? Do you feel the cold? And from there you can drill down into what may or may not be appropriate.
Okay, so something that I'm not familiar with, looking at the range of clothing through here, there's some, I don't know whether you'd call them jackets or what are we calling these ones through here?
A mid-layer. So it's they're 100% merino. We've had in our range a Ponte 350 GSM weight mid-layer for a number of years. So we just went a little higher in the weight to a 600 GSM, and a slightly different knit on the outside, a honeycomb knit. So it's just a more complete wind barrier as a mid-layer compared to the 350 weight.
Yeah. And I suppose cosmetically they look really attractive as well.
Well, they do. That honeycomb knit certainly adds a different visual to a Ponte knit. So they're getting into the premium price point. But if you are travelling and you're not climbing a mountain, but still want to look good and going to a restaurant at night in the cold, it certainly offers a look and the functionality of warmth.
Okay, and this one through here, that's the next one that looks very similar in style, but that's a lighter weight, is it?
Well, that's the 350 Ponte fabric. So it's an ideal weight. It's a bit more, not next to skin, but a slim fit, as opposed to the bulkier, more jacket-looking the honeycomb knit in the sphere, the 600 weight.
Okay, no, that's good. Okay, so the next couple of products we're going to talk about, we've got a top, and tell us a bit about that.
Well, this is the Merino Fusion, that hybrid polypropylene merino that I was talking about. So where we have gone from, we have 4 different weights. The 2 heavier weights are more warmth without the bulk, where we had a lighter weight at 160 GSM, which provided more lightness and dryness in movement. And we took that to the next level to do an ultralight 100 GSM. So very fine merino, very fine polypropylene, and we just put 15% tensile for a cooling aspect. And so for a performance garment for trail running, especially in the hot, warm conditions, it's ideal. It's just rapid dry, so you don't get that clinginess and just moisture absorption that just makes a garment heavier. So we've had great success with this in the Singaporean market over the last few years, just because of their climate.
So that 100 weight material, is that only in a short sleeve, or do you do them in long sleeve versions as well?
No, just short sleeve.
Yes. Okay. And there's a few different colours in that one, or?
Well, there's 2 colours. The Fusion Red. Then we also do a grey as well.
Yep. No, that's fine. It's fine. Okay, and the socks, the Atmosphere Q socks, I've tried those or used previous models of those. So tell us about those ones.
Well, we looked at the, again, that combination of merino and polypropylene, but in a performance run sock. So in our 10K high merino socks, they're very spongy, but there's just a bit of movement in the foot within the shoe. So we've dropped the terry under the foot, so just in the landing zones. So very fine cushioning, but the weight also drops. So again, with running and any sort of performance, it's all weight. The more weight you're carrying, the harder it is. So we've just found this sock offers a very secure fit and keeps the foot environment dry whilst doing 10K plus runners.
Okay. That's good. All right, thanks very much for that. So we've been talking to John Pote from Wilderness Wear. It's a product we use quite a lot, and again, we do reviews on a regular basis. But have a look. There's such a big range across the tops and the thermal range and the sock range. There's something for everybody. Thanks very much.
Oh, thanks, Tim.
For me, Wilderness Wear is one of those products I probably don't buy enough of. And there's good reason for that. They just last and last. I've got some tops that are bordering on being sort of 8 years old and showing no signs of wear. Certainly the thinner tops that I get for the lightweight and the minimal warmth tend to wear out a bit more often. But the heavier weight garments just last and last. And I've also got some long johns, which I've had for many, many years. So they're a product, they're Australian made, they're using Australian wool, and they are good quality. So again, if you're looking at wool garments or thermals, certainly consider Wilderness Wear as a product to go for. So next we're going to be talking to Ben from One Planet. We've actually talked to Ben, I think it was about 2019, so I'll get him to introduce himself and just give you a bit of background about what One Planet is.
Hello, thanks Tim, thanks for having us. My name's Ben from One Planet. My main role is marketing sales, and we're here at the show presenting some new sleeping bags. One Planet, we're an Australian outdoor brand. We've been around about 40 years, since the late 70s, and we predominantly make backpacks, tents, sleeping bags, and outerwear, specifically rainwear and gaiters. We have a factory in Melbourne where we produce a lot of the equipment. And today we'd like to talk about some of the new range of sleeping bags that we've released in the last few months.
Okay, that's good. All right, so sleeping bags, I mean, there's so many on the market. Tell us a bit about this new range.
So we've been making sleeping bags a long time, and we fill and finish the bags in our factory in Melbourne. The range is quite expansive, stretching from really lightweight summer offerings all the way through to winter offerings with waterproof, breathable fabrics. In the last 6 months, we've re-released our whole range, which is quite exciting for us, and it's been going quite well. We'd like to talk to you about sort of 3 specific models today. It's the all-rounders, the core biggest sellers and the most popular offerings that we make, and they are the Cocoon, the Sonder, and also the Bungle. Starting with the Cocoon, that's a model we make that has a box foot and a full-length zip on the side. The new change that we brought through to the Cocoon is to bring a waterproof foot box onto the bottom. So this model now uses Pertex Quantum Pro as a fabric in the bottom there. If you brush the end of the tent, this waterproof fabric will stop any condensation from coming in to the foot of the product, of the bag, which will mean that your feet are warmer and you're less likely to lose performance over the night's sleep. So just a nice way of staying a bit warmer. It's a really lightweight fabric as well, so it doesn't add a lot of weight to the sleep bag. All our sleep bags are designed for bushwalking predominantly, so they're very light and very compact. With the Bungle and the Sonder, we've brought through the same technology onto both of those. So the Bungle and the Sonder, they have a full side zip from shoulder to ankle and a second zip around the foot. So we call those a zip foot model, and they open flat like a doona if you wanted to use them in different zips.
I was going to ask that one. I must admit, it is a feature I do like in a sleeping bag. It means it makes them a bit more versatile when it gets really hot.
Yeah, certainly the Sonder is our most popular bag at the moment. It comes in a few different temperature ratings, so they all have temperature ratings for males and females on there. So the Sonder will come in a -5 male limit, which is also a -1 female limit, also a -8 male limit and a -2 female. That's the same bag. And then there's also a -10, which is a -4 female lower limit of comfort.
No, that's right. And I'm assuming with as you would probably expect, the warmer the bag, the heavier the amount of weight. You're using the same fill in each bag?
Certainly. So we use 800 to 850 loft down, which is a hydrophobic down, so it has a DWR on there. And basically, to get a warmer sleeping bag, you add more down in there, so that contributes to the weight and also the compactability. There are also some design features. So the biggest difference between the Sonder and the Bungle is the Bungle comes in warmer temperature ratings, but also it has design features that make it suit winter better. So we will have like a 2 draft tubes down the side. It will also have a neck baffle, and it'll have slightly more full hood. So that way, when you do have a bag that is tailored towards a winter offering, you can also have features that suit that as well. So that, again, contributes to the weight and the compactness, but that's why we have multiple offerings.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. And you've also got another bag, which is it a sleeping bag?
It is a sleeping bag. We've got a new model that we're bringing out. It's called the Rumor. It's just landed. So this model uses Pertex Quantum Pro as the outer fabric, which is a waterproof, breathable material. But the great thing about this bag is it also has welded seams. So the waterproof, breathable material is complemented by the welded seams, which makes a complete package. The construction method is also waterproof. That means it's almost half a bivvy. So you could use it out in the open air and you wouldn't have any wind coming through. You wouldn't have any water or moisture coming through onto the bag. It would be a great option for in winter when you've got a condensation-rich environment, or potentially just under a tarp, to cover your nose and face. On the side, it also has a YKK waterproof zipper to sort of, again, complement the construction method.
I was going to say, just looking at the zip, looking at the zip on the standard bags, it's a zip as you would expect on any sleeping bag, whereas this definitely does look like almost like a dry suit zipper or a totally waterproof zip.
Yes, on the Rumor we use the YKK AquaGuard, whereas on the normal bags we'll use a YKK in a number 5 gauge, and they all have an anti-snag slider on the normal bags as well.
Okay, no, that's good. It's something different than what's being offered on the market, as you say. It's sort of halfway between being a bivvy, and if you're into camping out in the open, it's probably not a bad thing, because even in warm weather you can still end up with condensation and end up with a wet bag, or the bag being covered in moisture, at least in the morning anyway.
Yes, definitely. I think the biggest challenge in sleeping bags is to keep the moisture out of the bag, and therefore the down performing at the maximum and you as warm as possible. So the construction method and the materials used in the Rumour bag really promote that as well.
So is there only one temperature rating on the Rumour, or is it there's a few?
It's a good question. The Rumour, we have a few different temperature ratings. There's a male low limit -6, which is a female 0. It also comes in a -9 male, which is a -3 female, and a -12 male, which is a -4 female.
Okay, and that -12 probably what, an alpine bag, is it? Or
I would say so, yep, definitely. And there's 2 sizes, a regular and a large.
all right, well, that's good. Okay, so we've been talking to Ben from One Planet about their new range of sleeping bags, and we'll certainly have some images up on the website for you to have a look at. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Tim.
So that was our interview with One Planet and an interesting range of sleeping bags. I think it's a really good thing that with many of these companies that produce sleeping bags, rather than trying to copy what everyone else does and do exactly the same thing, they manage to find a point of difference. And in that respect, these bags, they're aimed at condensation-rich environments, and particularly the new bag, the Rumour, which is coming out soon, looks like it. It's almost a bivvy in that it's designed that you can sleep out in the open and not get sopping wet as part of the process. So rather than having to have a bivvy and a sleeping bag, although if it was pouring with rain, I'd probably think I'd want something a bit more protected. It's a good option for that, giving that bit of extra waterproof protection. So in the coming months, we'll be doing some reviews of some of these bags just to see how they go through and how they perform. So we're here next talking to Spelian, who are agents for MSR, Thermarest, Petzl headlamps, amongst many other products that we have used and are familiar with overall. So first up, we're going to talk to Guy about a new MSR stove, which is called the Switch, which is due for release in Australia in the coming months. Is probably the best way to do it. As per usual, we've got some of the most stringent gas regulations in the world, so it takes a bit longer to get products onto the Australian market. So if you see them in the US, there's a reason for that. We just can't get them in Australia yet, but not far off. Okay, so tell us a bit about the new Switch stove system.
Well, the Switch stove system, as we've just heard, is not released in Australia yet, but not too far away. The reason for its name is it comes with its own pot for boiling and cooking your meals in. The reason it's called a Switch is it has a pot supports that fold out and allows you to use your own cookware, be it a skillet or a small saucepan. So it gives you more versatility. You're not tied to just having a one-pot system. You can utilise it with other equipment.
Okay. Yeah, no, I must admit, it looks like a little compact little unit. And I'll have some photos on the show notes to give you an indication. But yeah, it looks like it packs down fairly nicely, and probably an ideal unit for a solo hiker, I'd say.
Oh, definitely. Yes, it's very portable, and also one of the benefits is you can stow your small canister and the actual burner system all inside the pot. So yeah, for a solo hiker, ideal.
Okay, no, that's good. So when do we think we might be seeing that on the Australian market?
We hope it'll become available probably leading into Christmas 2025. That's not necessarily set in concrete, but that's what we're hoping will be the case.
Okay, no, and it's a good-looking little stove unit and a nice compact unit, so I think it'll do well on the market.
And yeah, I'm sure it will do very, very well in that market, solo marketplace.
And I think as per the other MSR stoves as well, we've got the wind burning protection in there as well. So very, very wind protected.
It is very wind protected, and it also has a rather unique feature where the bottom of the pot that it comes with has a domed bottom, a bit like what you'd call a crucible. And the benefit of that is you get a greater surface area absorbing the heat and then converting that heat to cook your meal.
Okay, no, that's good. Thanks, Guy.
That's a pleasure.
All right, now we're going to talk to Mia, and we're going to talk about a couple of products that are new to speleology, but may not necessarily be new to hikers on the Australian market. And the first one is Zoleo. So you've now taken over the distribution for that in Australia. Tell us a bit about the product and what's so special about Zoleo.
Yeah, so we just recently took it over about a month ago, not even, so new for us, but kind of very interesting in the satellite communicator market. It works in the Iridium network, so that's kind of everywhere in the world. It connects anywhere that doesn't have a canopy, or if you're able to see the sky, it works globally. And that is kind of, there's a lot of satellite communicators on the market. You've got some competitors like Garmin. This one's doesn't have a screen or anything like that, so it's just a standalone kind of device, but it's kind of what do they call, pack horse or something like that. It's got all the features in one kind of. So with this one, it connects to a phone in your app, and you can, with that phone, you can message, and most of these satellite communicators have their standard emergency, a couple texts that you program in and you send out. This one, when on your phone, you can send up to about 900 characters, and that's two-way messaging, so back and forward as well, in one text. So that's kind of very beneficial, not something you'd get, being able to actually communicate with people.
So it's almost like an email rather than a text message.
Right, yeah. Put as much detail in as possible. And it's also, on the app, it's got some other features, so weather, live weather, if you need. A lot of the times, if you haven't checked, or it changes quite regularly, so the weather feature is pretty good. And then it also has live track, like location tracking, especially there's like a check-in button you can press, and that kind of tracks your location, so it can you get spotted when you're in an area if you need to do that, and that's just on the device as well, so you can do it quite accidentally.
Now, I believe, talking to Greg, there's been some changes. Zoleo has been on the Australian market for a couple of years now, and I believe there's been a change just recently on the minimum count, I suppose, or the count duration.
Yeah, so it used to have, when you bought the device, it's a subscription base, and the subscription used to have minimum 3 months, so you had to pay, the subscription starts about $30, so you had to pay $30 locked in each for 3 months. But it has since changed to just 1 month subscription. When you first buy it, you just have to buy the 1 month, and then you can subsequently choose to change your subscription, or maybe if you want to lock it or something, if you've just gone on a hike for a month and then come back, and you can lock it for the next month. So it's just back to it doesn't lock you in for 3 months until we do it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I mean, if you are going for a 3 or 4 week hike and then doing nothing for 6 months, and you're not going to be using it, it's not a bad way to work it. So it's good to see. Right.
And then on that down period, if you're not using it for that extra months, I think it's to keep the subscription, it's $4 a month. So when you first get it and you first pay that initial subscription, you get a unique phone number. If you then choose to not replenish it, you'll lose that phone number. But if you pay that $4 a month, you'll keep that phone number that you've originally had.
Okay, no, that's good. And we expect to be doing some reviews of Zoleo over the coming months, so looking forward to that. Okay, now, while we're here as well, another product that's new for you is the Norsewear socks. Now, there are so many socks on the Australian market and the world market. What's so special about Norsewear?
So Norsewear, something special, they're from New Zealand, so they use a bunch of, the thing about them is that they have their own manufacturing. A lot of the times it's kind of outsourced from different places where you'd get manufacturing, but they have their own sock looms, I think Italian sock looms in New Zealand getting made, so, and their own patented kind of loom as well for each sock, so that's very beneficial. They're big on merino wool, and one of the top things that we've kind of seen a lot of traction with is their possum socks, which is like a mix of possum, merino, and some other goods. But yeah, so that's kind of, they're doing well for us.
Well, I was going to say, given the possums are Australian, it's probably not a bad thing.
Right, yeah. You know how we feel about that? But yeah, so they have a active line, which is kind of they do running socks, adventuring socks, multi-sport socks, some ski socks as well, and they also have a workwear line, so that's kind of the more heavy-duty, like very durable socks as well. Interesting fact, Sir Edmund Hillary took the Milford, which is their base model, to Everest when he climbed it. So, that's kind of the brand legacy, very special. So, yeah, good to be working with them.
All right.
Lovely people.
That's good. Okay, from here, we're moving on to a product that people may be aware of. It's been available from New Zealand for a number of years, but now is in Australia. And this is Real Meals, which is a range of freeze-dried food. again, there's a lot of freeze-dried food, a lot of food on the Australian market. What's so good about Real Meals?
So Real Meals, founded by Nathan. He's one of the top adventure race. I think he's seven-time world champion. So he kind of made his own meals and stuff when he there was a market for something that he couldn't see. And they're great because they're in lovely packages. They're single serve, but the kind of grammage in them, if you'd like, a lot of people like to share them as well. I think on the serving size, they're quite big. Actually, you got a lot of bang for what's in there. And they got, as each new meal kind of brand comes out, we like to say they're better than what you've had before. They're always tastier. A lot of good options for the vegetarian, beef, chicken, all that stuff. And they have some kids meals as well. So kind of for everyone's tastes. They've also got a couple smoothies, and we've had the favourite we've had from feedback is the chocolate cake. So, can't win all. But yeah, so great freeze dry, quite lightweight with being freeze dried as well, and good taste is what we've got feedback from.
It's always interesting to see the. I noticed one of the meals in their range is venison casserole, which is not unexpected coming out of New Zealand, considering the amount of deer they've got over there. And it never seems to last long in Australia, but I must admit I do like venison, so it'd be interesting to see what that one tastes like.
Yeah, a bit more gamey. So I think this is one of their popular ones more in New Zealand as well, and we just brought it out recently. It's from their deluxe line. So these on average retail are about $19.90 something, and the venison is $27 gets up to. But it's one of their more deluxe range with the specialised kind of venison, and I'm pretty sure it's wild caught as well. So kind of the regulations around that in New Zealand have been interesting to deal with, but yeah.
Okay. I noticed one of their youth meals is mac and cheese, but I think most hikers adults would be quite happy to eat that, and size-wise, it's a 100-gram meal, so that's a reasonable size meal for an adult.
So yeah, I think they're same size, so a lot of times people use ones that's a bit smaller, but they're kind of the same as overall for the rest of them. But yeah, it's just kind of a bit more of a different taste if you're not looking for like a dal or something that you'd think everyone would enjoy. But yeah, they're pretty good too. We've got some good feedback on them as well. I think they have like lasagna as well. That's pretty good taste and enjoyable all round.
All right, and we've got a batch of those we'll be testing out over the coming months. So looking forward to see how they go.
Yeah. And then they kind of another thing with them is they got a staple option with the rice. Pretty good rice, to be honest. It's rice is rice, and so you can mix that in, makes the meal bigger if you need it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is Petzl headlamps. We are pretty big fans of Petzl as a headlamp brand and use those for quite a while. Probably our favourite one is the Petzl E-Light, which is it's classed as an emergency light, but it's one that ultra hikers like using. But certainly they do a much bigger range for serious night hiking as well. Looking at the biggest one here is 1500 lumen, which is a pretty serious sort of headlight. Okay, so what's new for Petzl this year?
So they've kind of, as per usual, they kind of a whole new SKU change. Also, just new colours for all the classic Tikka, Arctic, and Tikena. Some new colours, and it's the 25th anniversary of the Tikka Core. This year, so they've got a new special edition Tikka Core with a headband that has throughout the years of the Tikka has the profiles of each on the inside, so it's a bit specky, a bit pretty. The same price as the rest of them. It's just a special edition, something fun for the anniversary. And then something that hasn't come out yet, is not available, but will be coming out in the next year or so, is the Swift RL. The name's changing a bit, so the Swift RL we've got now is changing to the Swift Classic, because we're getting a new Swift RL, and this one kind of is a bit more lightweight and is a bit more technical. So I can't visualize it now, but it has the profile of a bindi, but with kind of the same specs as the reactive lighting. So this is the new Swift RL, still reactive. It's got its own like a rechargeable battery with it, and it's a bit more lightweight. So Swift RL they'll be out next year, and then the Swift Classic is now the old one.
I was going to say it looks pretty serious as far as the amount of lighting on there.
Right, it's pretty full on, but yeah, that's reactive, so it's got a bunch of features as well, the same features plus a bit more. And then we have another one coming out. This one's coming out soon. It's kind of supposed to replace the Bindi. So again, with that like lightweight, it's rechargeable battery like through the thing. Can't take the battery out, but on the device. But yeah, that's the Swift LT. So the Swift is kind of getting a full new line, which is interesting.
Yeah. So that's a lightweight version by the look, or definitely a much smaller, a much more compact version. So this Petzl have always done some really good lights. So looking forward to seeing how they go.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad to see the Bindi go, though. Like, it's kind of one of my favourites. I guess lightweight, you can do it in your morning run, throw it in your bag before work. So anyway, look interested on this one. But yeah.
Okay.
That's what we've got new so far.
Okay, so we've been talking to first off Guy and then Mia from Spelian. So as we said, the distributors of MSR, of Thermarest, Petzl and Real Mills now. So again, we'll see some reviews of those coming up soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
So some great new offerings from Spelian, and I've got quite a few products to test and do reviews of in the coming months, but certainly looking forward to testing out the Zolios and to the Norseware socks and the new MSR switch stove when it comes to the market, hopefully later this year, otherwise early next year. As usual, Petzl will continue to improve and upgrade their range. It sounds like they've slowed down compared to what they've done over the last few years, mainly releasing new colours, but there is some new lights coming onto the market. So again, looking forward to testing those out when they come to the market. So that was our interviews for the Outdoor Retailer 2025 Expo. And I must admit, I didn't think I'd done as many interviews as I had, even though I knew how many people I'd talked to. And I think it became really obvious, particularly as you listened to the first interviews, that there's been a shift in the industry, for at least from my perspective. For a number of years, the thing that was really noticeable was the talk about being environmentally friendly and recycling and having product that didn't impact the environment. And while that's still there and the process has pretty much become ingrained as standard, now the conversation seems to be shifting towards making the product look good. And it's not making it look good with the expense of function and form. It's just making it look good because they've gone as far as they can at the moment with the materials and the features they can put on a lot of product. And the way to make it stand out is to make it look good. And I think there is a big shift now that, I can remember 10, 20, 30 years ago, there was definitely a look as far as hikers are concerned. And I do notice that on trail. Australian hikers, particularly when I've been overseas, have a reputation for wearing black and dark blue, and that's about it. And it's not necessarily because that's the colours they like. It's because we do get a limited range of colours that come into this country. But the shift is now on where a lot of the retailers are being able to source gear from particularly the American manufacturers, and they're starting to make their product in a wider range of colours and a wider range of sizes, and they also go through and give you the ability to make a bit of a fashion statement. And I know that's probably a secondary issue for a lot of people, but my view is I'd like to use gear that is really functional, but I also want to look good in the gear that I'm wearing. A bit of vanity there, but I think that's just one of those sort of things. This expo in particular, normally there's about 12 months notice, so we'll see what happens next year, whether it happens at the same location and at the same time. And it's more than likely going to be an increased number of outdoor retailers from the hiking perspective attending the show because they'll have a bit more notice, but we'll see what happens there. There's a lot of very good product coming onto the market, and I suppose the other product I'd probably highlight is the Zolio. Now, It's been on the market in Australia for a couple of years, so people are probably familiar with it. But now there's a lot more competition. It used to be Garmin and that was it, or Spot and that was it. Now there's a lot more competition in the market, and that sector or that industry is now being fairly aggressive. So with Zoleo, you used to have a minimum of 3 months subscription, whether you used it or not. Whereas now that's been broken back to a 1 month subscription. And if you want to maintain a particular phone number that or number that comes with it, you pay $4 a month, which is quite reasonable. I've currently got 2 satellite communicators at home, and one of them I've basically turned the subscription service off, and the other one I've just suspended it, because really, if I'm going for a short walk, quite happy to take a personal locator beacon with me if in case of emergency, or if I am close to a phone tower, the phone will often carry me through, but the personal locator beacon is there just in case of emergency. So I think it's one of those sort of things that we are seeing a lot of change happening in the industry, and it seems to be going from strength to strength. There's new suppliers coming onto the market. There's new product coming onto the market, and definitely liking the way the industry is heading. The other supplier I briefly mentioned as well is Campus Pantry. Now, I didn't get a chance to do a recorded interview with AJ from Campus Pantry, but I did manage to catch up with him just for a quick chat, and he's got some great new product coming onto the Australian market in the coming months, in the coming year. So we're looking forward to seeing that as well and testing that one out. So particularly for those gear freaks out there, we hope you've enjoyed this series of interviews and looking forward to next year's interviews to see what happens from there. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode, brought to you by Whipper, Australia's pack manufacturer. That's all for me. Bye for now.